I want to disclose that what you're going to hear is a whole bunch of stuff about Sylvania and how good it is. I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm doing this because I thoroughly believe in the engineering and the science and the quality that Sylvania offers. And it's a delight to come and do a little professional stuff after 5 years of retirement. Let's start with terminology. An emitter is that part of the light source that gives off light. It could be an LED, it could be an arc and an HID, or a filament. A light source is the item that holds the emitter. Also, you think of it as a light bulb. The assembly is the housing, which comes from a different company than Osram. And the most important thing is optics. Optics refers to how the emitter and the light source and the assembly combine to give you the best light on the road. And the emission pattern in this country must meet federal requirements, FMVSS 108, and light systems must be properly matched to get a desired result. Any of you who wear glasses, you put them in front of your eyes, on your nose, and torque them, you're not going to see. Same thing here. If the filament, if the emitter, is not properly placed in the light source, and the light source is not exactly placed in the assembly, the optics won't work. Light will come out, it won't go where you need it. Remember that. That is at the fundamental basis of everything I have to say. The question you're all going to ask, how can I improve forward lighting performance? I'm glad you asked. At each level, you can do something for optimization. The Sylvania kit has something in it that the others don't, and that is a UV blocking final coat. It gives it that crystal clear appearance and gives you some protection against UV damage in the future. And it's going to sound corny, but if you park your van facing north to keep it out of the sun, the easiest thing you can do, the cheat, if you say, oh man, I'm not going to do that, right here. Automatic transmission fluid is magic. It has two properties that make it an excellent cleaner for your headlights. It'll take grime off. And two, the lubricant in here happens to have the exact same optical properties as the polycarbonate plastic. Meaning that when you spread this lubricant onto the headlight, it will fill the scratches, and the light coming out will not be refracted by those scratches because it's filled with lubricant. The other thing is, ATF is pretty aggressive. It won't wash off immediately. So one tablespoon on a rag, wipe a little bit, and that's it. So that's something you can do every month or every 6 weeks when it gets dirty again, and it will give you a measurable improvement. Not as good as this, which will actually get you to over 90% of your original light output. So, obviously another solution is you can replace your headlamps. If you can find a good set of the OEMs and clean them up, that's the best approach. Remember, Mercedes specified how these headlamps are supposed to perform. Hella, it's a German company, one of the very best in the business, made them, and they invested millions of dollars in designing these headlamps. Every fluted here is precisely designed to put the light somewhere in the beam pattern on the road. This is a big headlamp. It's vertical. It has a big collector, so it has good optical efficiency. This is all the making of a good headlamp. So if you could find another Hella used in better shape than yours and you clean it up, that would be a good solution. Replacing headlamps with aftermarket units is unlikely to be satisfactory. It is possible that you get a good set, but where are those headlamps coming from? They're not coming from Hella, they're not coming from Valio, they're not coming from one of the reputable headlamp makers. It's coming maybe out of a little factory in China or somewhere in Eastern Europe where they do not have optical engineers, they do not have precision molding, they do not have the quality control. And so I would postulate that the optics are not going to be that great, so they're not going to be coupling with whatever light sources in there that well. First rainstorm may prove that they're not sealed very well. I mean, remember, as you use these, they warm up, right? And when they cool off, the air inside contracts. So if it's not properly done, this breathing thing will suck moisture in. Right, Joel? I mean, you tried something.
So, I mean, I'm just saying that if you order headlights off of MMS-Fest.com, they're hella. So, you know.
And believe me, it is
Hella good.
Hella good.
Thank you. Did you just make that up? So, I mean, I don't want to, I did a lot of work with China. And if you specify something from China to be quality, they will do it, right? iPhone. Really top quality device, made in China. If you tell them what to make, you pay for them to make it, you specify it and control it, they will make a quality product. But do you really think the headlamps that come out of China are going to be made with that degree of care or quality?
You buy them on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say you cannot expect them to have the optical talent or the manufacturing talent that's going to make a good product. Period. End of sentence. And a projector beam, which is a real popular replacement, may or may not work because the projector is a fairly sophisticated optical block of glass. And do you think they really get those from Carl Zeiss in Germany? Or Dr. Optics, another German company of fine optics? Nope. They get something pressed out of glass in Foshan or Shenzhen or someplace and they slap it in there. So please, don't go down that road. The only two reputable aftermarket makers are Tai and Depot, and their boxes are marked that way. These are Taiwanese companies that make a lot of crash parts, so a lot of insurance companies will specify, I'm not going to pay for a brand new OEM headlamp, use a Depot or Tai. And they are the best of that. So if you have to get an aftermarket, it'll say on the box, Tai or Depot. Their taillights are fine because they don't have a specified beam pattern. And you might be okay. So, next thing, what else can I do to improve my headlights? You can check the aim. Park on a level surface, about 25 feet away from a wall, and check, are the left and right headlights at the same level? They should, they should strike the wall at about the same height as the headlight. Easy to check. There's the center of the headlight. Walk 25 feet. Is that where it's hitting? There are adjustment screws. Penetrating oil first and hope you can adjust them, but that could be a problem with an older headlamp for sure. You can change the light source. If you've got halogens, and they've been in there for a while, they have degraded. There's a little spring thing there. As the filament is heated up to incandescent, atoms fly off. And as the atoms fly off, the amount of filament available to incandescent goes down. So an older headlamp bulb will be putting out, even before it fails, will only be putting out about 70% of what it originally did. So just taking out an old set of headlight bulbs and putting in new ones is going to give you 20-30% improvement. The other thing you can do is you can upgrade the light source. Sylvania offers a range at different price points, and indeed they have a wider color as you go up the scale. They have more output. The downside is you can never defeat the laws of famous dead guys. It's all physics. If you push a filament harder, it will die sooner. So you need to make a choice. Do I want a headlight that's going to last a couple years? Or do I want one that's going to last maybe only 1 year, but give me 20 or 30% more light on the road? I'm going to say I want to see better than that, and they're not that hard to change in here. So this is the array of lights that you can get from Sylvania at almost any auto parts store in the United States. But what about those 100-watt bulbs on Amazon, huh? These are like 55 watts, which are within the spec. Everything Sylvania makes is within the specification. Well, my first point is going to be, don't do it under any circumstances. To get a high watt bulb and put it in this assembly that was designed around the heat load of 55 watts, it's a disaster. You're going to melt. wiring. You're going to melt your lens. You're going to melt your reflector. You may start a fire. The 100-watt bulbs worked back in the day when we used glass lenses, and they had metal reflectors, and they had real beefy wiring. This was back in the 60s and 70s. Nowadays, it's all optimized. They put in the skinniest wires they can get away with. They determine exactly what the heat load is going to be. And if you go 100 watts, you will regret it. What about the cheap light sources? I mean, I got to replace these H7s every year, you know. Sylvania's, it costs, I don't know what it costs anymore. It costs X. I can get just as good light bulbs on Amazon for half price. Again, don't do it. I guarantee you, there is no company out there other than Philips, which is a good brand, which is what Pep Boys sells down in Philadelphia, I know, and Napa, that can make a light bulb with the filament in the right spot. Japanese stuff, it'll look like an H7, but that filament will not be perfectly oriented where it needs to be in that reflector to put the light on the road. And if it isn't, the light's going to be up there, it's going to be over there, it's going to be down here. And anyway, the Chinese really don't make good halogens. In fact, if you go to China and you buy a conventional car, not a high-end car, that has halogen headlights in it, those halogens came from Hillsborough, New Hampshire. Because the Chinese want a quality light bulb, and they figured out we can't get sufficient quality from our local manufacturers. So the OEMs buy from Hillsborough, New Hampshire, which is a manufacturing success story that I just love. Now, how about switching to LED light sources? This gets interesting because I believe there is a solution that will give you optimal performance. It can be done. It cannot be done technically legally. American rules are a little bit outdated. They say if this is an H7 headlamp, in fact the H7 in the low beam and H1 in the high beam, then only an H7 is the legal replacement. And an LED version of the H7 is not an H7, it doesn't meet the same specifications or dimensions. In Europe, they are much more pragmatic. They have a similar rule, but they say, if you can bring me data, so Osram has gone hundreds and hundreds of vehicles and confirmed that the H7 LED works, and when you buy them, you know, you get a piece of paper that says this headlamp is legal in this model of Sprinter or that model of Mercedes. They've not done it for this one because it's too old. They haven't seen that that's necessary. And you won't see a lot of T1Ns in Germany anymore because they all went to Poland and Russia. So they all have new ones. But what I'm saying is the effort that went into designing this gives you an excellent beam pattern that is not going to produce a lot of glare. I've been using it for a couple of years and most happy with it. And I also would point out that those states that have inspections, and there are 14 that don't, to the best of my knowledge, they don't even check what's in there. They just want to know if it lights up. So if you show up with a nice clean headlamp with a nice LED bulb in it, that's going to be 10 times better than a yellowed, dirty headlamp with an old dim bulb in it, even though both of them will pass. So the upgrade to this LED, I recommend. If you go to another manufacturer, all bets are off. I've looked at Amazon, their claims, you know, we got 2,000 lumens in our LED, you know? There's no data to support that. And there's no data to prove that their headlamps work properly. Higher output light source promised on Amazon is snake oil. Okay, so let's consider LED conversion compatibility. I'm lucky, this fan has no outage circuitry, which works by testing the resistance when you start the car. It goes and checks every little thing and sees, am I getting the right resistance? And an incandescent bulb has much more resistance than an LED. And therefore, if your vehicle has outage, it will flag an LED as a burned out bulb and give you a warning light.
It does on the newer vans.
That's
on my
correct.
Van, it does. I have LEDs in there, and the light is on saying The low headlight is out.
Right. You get a load equalizer. This is a small resistor that will go in line somewhere in your circuit, and it will mimic an incandescent bulb. You throw any energy savings out the window.
Can you show it this way?
And these are available same place, and they give you all the instructions. It's really just a simple cut a wire, connect two wires.
It's called an LED equalizer.
Load equalizer.
Load equalizer.
So you would put that into any circuit where you've chosen to put an LED bulb.
Does
And
it
it
work
will-
for both headlights at once?
No, you need to put it on each side.
Okay.
So my key message, what did I do to my own Sprinter? I made sure the headlights were clean. I put in the LED. And I have good light. What you should do on your own van, first, survey the headlights. Try the ATF trick. Invest $20 and an hour of your time. After a couple of years, they begin to look a little sad again. You can get the headlamp kit that only has the cleaning compound and the magic UV block in it. There is one thing for those of you who live in the land of winter. A halogen bulb puts off a lot of heat, and it will prevent the buildup of ice or snow or slush on your headlamp. An LED will not. Your headlamps in the winter can freeze over because there just isn't as much energy going to that bulb. These LEDs are so incredibly efficient. That's something to think about.